Hi, this is Fran with Stampendous, and we're doing our watercolor video number 120. And as you can see on this model board, we've now covered these different designs, and today's lesson will be focused on this clear set that is the Wintery Day. I'm going to stamp a couple of our little snowmen with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink here. These little snowmen are so easy and simple to work with. While these are drying, I'm going to make sure I've got all my paints ready to go. And we'll just fast forward this. Okay, I've got a soft shade of the phthalo blue, and this will give us a little shadowing here. And I've got a rather wet brush, but I'm just going to blot it if it gets even more color. I just want a little bit of soft blue here to make our snowman look a little bit more rounded. I need just a little bit of green, and I've got plenty mixed here on my palette, so we'll just do a little bit of color on the holly leaves. There's two little holly stamps in the set. A nice little orange for the nose. I took some of the gray blacks from the top of my palette to this area down here so that you can see, and we'll do this for the top hat. If you've been following our other videos, you see how I mix the three warm colors for my primaries, for my browns, and then the gray blacks in this area. So I want just a little bit of a brown for our little bird here to be a sparrow. Got a nice lime green. Let's do some stripes on this hat. And then with our Q rose, we'll get a nice vivid red. The tip of my brush, it's not too wet, will help me do the detail here. And let's do some striping on this little scarf. On this one, I'll do a little bit of the rose with some of the marine blue to get a little bit more of a magenta red. Okay, and we'll do a little scarf in this fun color. I'll go back to a blue for the stripes here on the hat. I'm going to add a little bit more of a lighter blue here. Soften that a little bit. A little bit of a shadow there behind the carrot nose. Okay, now let's have some fun with a border pattern here, and I think I'll just do it all a plaid. We'll start with a light blue. So I've cut this piece long enough to reach all the way across an A2 card, and if I want it to be symmetrical, I will do another. I want color on those outside edges. I'll do a band in the middle, and again I could measure things a little bit more, but it's just a playful pattern, so I'm going to continue So it's easy if you do a plaid in a monochromatic color scheme and start with the lightest colors. By letting the first layer dry, I will keep a crisper edge when I add the next colors going another direction. If you're patient and allow each layer to dry, that will keep a much crisper edge all the way through. You can see where if that stripe was still wet, then you can see exactly what happens to your stripes if it's damp. So I heat dried my plaid a little bit more so that I can continue doing the stripes here now. As you can see, I'm not into symmetry, and so I get some very whimsical plaids here. But that panel was wider, so I added another stripe. And then turn it if that helps to do your stripes. I know you symmetrical people out there are laughing at me now. That's okay. So that would make a fun little background plaid that you know will work with the colors you've used in your little watercolor. And of course you can use lots of fun printed papers to take a very simple watercolor and make a beautiful finished card. And you could make a dozen of these small little vignettes out of one sheet of the watercolor paper and do a little assembly line if you want to make a whole group of Christmas or holiday cards. I've taped off a border pattern and we'll see if we can paint a fun red and white candy cane stripe here. So that gives us some fun little backgrounds. So this set has the large snowman and the two small snowmen plus some very fun messages. And you can see here with what we painted earlier that it would be very easy to continue and do all different interesting colors on the hats and the scarves and the mittens. There's a wonderful little cardinal that he's holding in his little mittened hands. So with this one I barely got all of these to fit without doing any masking. The little stick arms are touching, but that all works okay. So I will let you have some fun painting those on your own. This one I quite liked how I had some a little bit more of a purpley blue in the shadows, and that just really worked into some nice colors on that one. But now what I'm going to paint for you, I'm going to show you how we're going to do a lot more blue in the background, and that will allow our little snow to really show up, and we'll show you how we get to that. So let's just do, I'll just explain here. I've cut out some larger panels, and taping the edge will now give me that nice white vignette look. And I've cut each of my snowman stamps with some little masks, and I will fast forward some stamping and you'll see how you can group all of the little characters together. Okay, so we'll stamp our large snowman first because he's in front. And then with the mask that I cut out, we will cover up the large snowman so that you can see how we can tuck all these little characters into the A2 card. So we'll just make sure that his eyes are peeking out behind here. There. And over here I thought I would try just the little snowmen. And on these I decided to just not worry about masking the little stick arms. So my mask is just the body and the hat. We'll just make sure that the face isn't right behind an arm. We'll see if we can make it look like another one behind here, or taller. I have a stack of snowmen. He's up on the hill. And I had some greenery up here that you perhaps could get from the little sprigs on this one, turning it around. But I'm going to borrow the pine that we had from the Leafy Holiday stamp set we used last week and stamp some larger pine branches up here at the top. I can use a little bit of this one if I spin it around. I'm going to take my fine line permanent pen and just create a couple other lines here to establish a little bit of the snowbank. Okay, so on both of these I wanted enough blue in the sky that I would be able to see the contrast of the snow. So I'm going to make sure that I mix up a lot of the blue. And then I'm going to look like a wintry sky, I'm going to gray it back a little bit. So I brought some gray that I had mixed from the black area of my palette, and I brought it to the front area so that you can see. I just wanted to get rid of a little bit of the green that I had been mixing there earlier. Okay, so now we've got, let me get a little bit more of the blue. More of the gray. Okay, so by taking the phthalo blue and adding a little bit more of this gray, I will get much more of a wintry blue sky color. And I need quite a bit of it to get all the way across, so might as well pre-mix enough of it here to not get stuck patching colors in the middle. So we'll test it out. Okay, that looks pretty good. We don't want it to be a flat color, but we'll mix it in. So with quite a lot of water on my brush, I'm going to come all the way in and around, and just by having this blue sky, wintry blue sky, then the white of my snowman will really stand out in contrast here. I'll get a little bit more of the marine blue here and there just to add some interest. And as long as it's all wet on wet, I'm getting some nice interesting little bits of a cloudy sky. And I'll do more of the same on this one. I'm going to borrow a little bit of this purple that was the rose and phthalo blue from this side, and I'm going to add it in over here as well for my shadowy colors here. I'm going to add a little bit of that dusky color into the sky as well. And then with a little bit more of the lighter blue, I'm just going to add a little bit more interest here in the foreground. Okay, next I'm going to do some of the blue just to make my snowman here look a little bit more three-dimensional. We'll blot a little bit. So this are, again, I'm assuming some light from this side. So some shadowing. These are just very light washes. Here and behind, we'll shadow this one a little bit more. Make this look round a little bit. This time I'm going to shadow the little carrot noses while I'm doing my blues. Now I'm going to move to my greens. So now with the nice clean brush, I'm going to move to my reds. You can see a lot of interesting colors I did on this one. And on these I've stuck to some of the more traditional Christmassy reds and greens, but every time you color it you can have fun trying some different combinations for mittens and scarves. Let's try a vivid blue. Some little dots make look like the mittens are maybe kind of fluffy. Okay, when we're sure that they've had a chance to dry, I'm going to remove the tape so that I can do my embossing without coming through this plastic cutting mat. So we'll go ahead and reveal that white edge. Now to get the snow that you're seeing on this card, I'm going to show you how we use the chunky white embossing enamel. And this is the largest granule, and I'm going to use a little clip tool just to hang on to it so that I don't have to reposition, keep my fingers from getting too hot. And this little scoop comes in the 14 jar kits. And if you haven't tried this before, go with a light touch to begin with, because each little granule is going to gain. It's going to get larger and rounder as it melts. But up here, I want a little bit more snow on these branches. So this little scoop allows me to kind of a little bit more up there. But it looks kind of funny clumps at the moment. So with a dry brush, I can now kind of reposition a bit of this. And right now, there's nothing sticky or wet holding the embossing powder in place. So I mustn't sneeze, or that would rearrange it all. And if you have a lot of snow that's landed right on their faces, you might move it away just to make sure we see their cheery little faces. Okay, so now I'm holding it steady and I'm going to heat from underneath. And that's key to this method, since there's nothing sticky holding it there. Okay, so I'm using my heavy-duty heat tool, but I'm going to have this underneath. And actually, the height of this should let you see it melt. And we're going to start up here in the areas where we have a lot of it on the pine branches. Okay, hopefully you can see all that fun little snow melted in place. So give it a try and you'll see how I held the heat tool in one place long enough for the melting to start. Then it moved much quicker as I moved around from there. And by moving the heat tool, you're not likely to get hot enough in any one area to do any scorching. But it's coming through a pretty heavy paper, so let's just see if we can even tell on the back. No scorching. So if you're using a smaller heat tool, you'll have to be patient because it'll take a lot longer for the heat to come through. So give that a try and you can go from a light snow to a heavy blizzard and have some fun embossing your snow.